Hey there everyone, welcome back to Utility Sports. Extremely excited to talk about a 2025 NBA draft prospect in today's video, and as you can tell from the title and thumbnail, that prospect is Kon Knueppel of the Duke Blue Devils. The former top 20 recruit in the nation has been very productive for the Duke Blue Devils to begin the season, and has been a real functional offensive weapon for John Shire as well in the half court for Duke this season. I want to first start by prefacing his numbers at the time I'm recording this video, averaging 14.8 points per game, 4 rebounds per night, nearly 3 assists per game as well, shooting almost 48% on 2-point attempts with nearly 6 2-point shots per game, shooting just a tick under 40% from 3. Knueppel has been showing off impressive three-point volume, as over 50% of his field goal attempts this season have been beyond the three-point line through his first 4 collegiate games. He is also adding in 1 steal per game. So I'm extremely excited to cover him in today's video with a little bit of an early scouting deep dive, taking a look at what we've seen so far from him in the college level, what we could expect for him in the NBA as a 2025 NBA draft prospect. By the end of the video, I'll give you my kind of projected draft range where I expect him to go on draft night in 2025. Obviously, if you've been watching my mock drafts, you know I've been pretty high on Kon Knueppel as a prospect. I just think the functionality he provides in an offense is extremely high, and we're going to start with that exactly right here with Kon Knueppel's greatest strength, which is his three-point shooting. As you could tell from the statistics, he is a good three-point shooter, shooting almost 40% from 3, and back during his time in high school at Wisconsin Lutheran High School, he really stood out as a real sniper. Obviously in high school had a little bit of a bigger role, but for Duke, his biggest role, his biggest functionality has been as a three-point shooter, and with Cooper Flake taking a lot of the playmaking responsibilities around other really solid Duke players, including some upperclassmen. Tyrese Proctor, I think, is starting to come into his own a little bit this year with Duke in a new refined role. Then I also think some of their transfers, like Zion James, as an example, Mason Gillis, another good example, Malik Brown as well, players who have fit in around their 2-star freshmen, 3-star freshmen if you include Kamen Maluwash. But if you looking at Kon Knueppel here on the wing, the standstill three-point shot is going to be probably one of the safest bets in this entire draft class. The fact that he's going to come into the NBA, he is a very balanced shooter, and what I mean by that is he gets his base underneath of him extremely well. Watch him kind of reset his feet here on this catch. He hops into it. I've coached players in the past who have had this same kind of 1-2 kind of mechanic in their lower base. And this is how you know he's going to be a confident shooter and someone who's going to shoot with rhythm consistently at the next level. That little hop into his jump shot, I think, will be a very beneficial element for him moving forward. Here's a transition opportunity from early this season. Again, kind of elevating into a three-point look, which ultimately becomes a 4-point play. Again, watch his footwork on this. Just being able to hop into it. That creates that rhythm. It creates that continuity between shot attempts where he's able to shoot on the move, shoot from a standstill position as well. One of the safest bets, like I said, in the entire draft is the fact that Kon Knueppel will be not only a very good shooter in the NBA, but will be a great shooter in the NBA with range and a lot of different ways to utilize him in an offensive setting. If you guys remember from last year specifically, I was a big believer in Reed Sheppard and the functional fit that he would provide to an NBA team. I had a very similar outlook on guys like Dalton Knecht, Jared McCain. Now Reed Sheppard went to the Houston Rockets, an extremely deep team. Sheppard hasn't been given the full reins to fully showcase what he's capable of at the NBA level yet, but players like Jared McCain, Dalton Knecht, who went to more thin teams that kind of needed their play a little bit more at the beginning of this NBA season, we've seen the benefits that those guys can give to a half-court offense. Jared McCain with the relocation skills, Dalton Knecht with the pure shooting, the ability to finish at the rim as well in transition. Those two have had some tremendous nights already early in their NBA careers. Really not surprising for me either. Both of them I had lottery grades on in this last draft, and for good reason, because of their ability to shoot the ball and the functionality that provides. And I want to focus here on, again, Jared McCain, another former Duke Blue Devil guard. And I think one of the most important elements with Jared McCain is the ability to relocate, find open space on the floor, and then get his shot off in that way. A lot of shooters aren't going to be just playing off of the bounce specifically with the basketball in their hands, and I think this play here against Wofford is a really great example of what Kon Knueppel can do around star talent. And like I said, Cooper Flake has taken some of that big responsibility as a creator, as a ball handler for the Blue Devils early this season. I think he's even ahead of schedule from where I expected him to be as a passer at this point in time. But I think this play specifically showcases exactly what you want to see from a shooter transitioning to the next level in the NBA, as Cooper Flake here drives off of the left wing toward the middle of the floor. Kon Knueppel's defender digs in on the play. So let's watch that again here now. Kon Knueppel's defender is going to reach in here, gamble on Cooper Flake to try and shut down this gap. That proves to be unsuccessful, and with that, Kon Knueppel just has a slight relocation, doesn't move a ton, but again, with his footwork, look at how balanced he is as he is rising up into his jump shot. With the talent that is Kon Knueppel, how good of a shooter he is when he finds his balance, when he gets into his rhythm with that little hop again. Watch him as he catches it here. There's that little 1-2 rise into his jump shot. This is really just pretty much, this is like a textbook, like, hey, this guy's going to be a shooter in the NBA. Just the slight relocation here. If he stands still at the top of the key, he's not getting a shot off in this example, but he relocates just enough to open up an opportunity for himself. And this is a tool that Jon Scheyer has really played into. If we go back to the start of this clip, Kon Knueppel starts in the right corner, with Cooper Flake again handling the basketball, assuming that lead ball dominant role for Duke quite a bit this season. And the Blue Devils here in their very first game of the season against Maine transition into, or flow into, an off-ball stagger screen here for Kon Knueppel. So the ball's on the left side of the court, Kon Knueppel's in the weak side corner, and not only does Sion James go to set a screen and ultimately become an interchange there on the opposite side, but there's another off-ball screen here for Knueppel, who catches with, again, this much space. And look at his footwork here. This shows, again, more signs of him being an elite shooter as he transitions to the NBA level. This is not an easy shot, with his momentum bringing him to his left, off balance a little bit. The ability to set his feet in somewhat of an unorthodox setting and still comfortably rise up through his center of gravity. And again, this is where the balance comes into play. The way he's catching the basketball in this clip does not look like he's going to be balanced, but he instead is incredibly balanced. And the elevation as well on his jump shot even gets hit on this play. Probably could have been another 4-point play against Maine. This is impressive shot making, and this is where the functionality rises for Kon Knueppel. I think a great example this year has been Norm Powell of the Los Angeles Clippers. He has been running a ton off the ball as James Harden is handling the rock for the Clippers, running off of stagger screens. This is very standard, very typical NBA-styled offense here. This is nothing unorthodox for the NBA. And Kon Knueppel, the ability to catch the ball on the move with a quick trigger, immediately rise up into his jump shot, and connect while getting hit. These are all signs, again, of what I've been saying multiple times already in this video. Kon Knueppel projects to be a great shooter in the NBA. Not only do his raw numbers suggest that, with him shooting almost 40% from three on very good volume at the college level, but the actual film, the eye test, backs that up as well. Every time he works off the basketball, the relocation skills, those tools that he has in his toolbox make him a functional addition to any offense, just like we've seen with Jared McCain and Dalton Knecht so far, and how Reed Sheppard will ultimately grow and blossom as a player as well. So you might be wondering, well, what if teams just try and deny him? So let's look at another off-ball action here on what is essentially a ball reversal. Mason Gillis now has the ball at the top of the key. Kamen Maluash is about to set a down screen to allow Kon Knueppel to come up and get the basketball. And watch Knueppel's defender here cheat under the action to meet him on the high side of the play. Again, this is to try and deter Kon Knueppel from getting an open three-point look. This is in their second game of the season against Army. This is, again, very good scouting report work by Army. They know exactly what Knueppel's trying to do here. They're trying to deter him from catching and shooting this three-point shot. But Knueppel knows that everyone knows he's a shooter. And not to get too meta-analysis on you here, but the idea that he's a shooter first is what's going to open up so much of his other areas of strength. Kon Knueppel is not going to be the best driver of the basketball in this draft class. He's not going to be the best passer of the basketball in this draft class. But his shooting, and specifically the gravity from his shooting, is going to alleviate some of his other semi-flaws. I think he has a very well-rounded game. I think he's going to be able to impact winning basketball in a number of ways. You saw that in the stats a bit as well, averaging almost 3 assists, 4 rebounds. For a college guard, those are fairly impressive numbers, and he's got decent functional size as well for the position he's going to play in the NBA as a wing. But I think really plays like this show what he's going to be capable of doing outside of just shooting the basketball as teams try to limit the amount of catch and shoot opportunities he gets. Catches this ball and immediately goes into a dribble toward the baseline. This is again taking what the defense is giving him. His defender number 31 did a good job cutting off this initial action to try and deter the catch and shoot look from 3 that we've already seen Knueppel be able to make and make consistently in this video. At this point, though, he gets to a spot now where he's occupying the help defender number 55. Malawash is working toward the middle of the floor as a potential lob opportunity. And this is where I would say, again, pointing as a comparison to some other prospects in this draft like Dylan Harper, Nolan Traore, Ben Seraph as example. Kon Knueppel is not going to be the best passer in this draft. He has an open kick to the weak side corner. He maybe has a lob here to Kamen Malawash. He does not make those passes. But again, taking what the defense gives him, he draws a foul, will ultimately get to the free throw line. Let's watch it again in full speed here quick. This is all very decisive, and that's one of the key things I really like about Kon Knueppel as well. There's no hesitation as he comes off of these actions. He knows what the defense is doing. He understands how defenses will react to him. And decisiveness for an off-ball player in the NBA is, I think, one of the most underrated elements for good team offense. If you have players who can quickly take what the defense is giving and get to spots on the floor to put the defense into rotation and put extra pressure on the rim, that's exactly what Kon Knueppel does here and ultimately gets a shot at the free throw line. This is another great example here of taking what the defense gives him and even showing off a little bit more of that skill set than I think he's been given credit for so far. This is a left slot drive from Cooper Flagg. Again, I've been very impressed with Cooper Flagg's decision making. The shot hasn't really been falling for him from behind the three-point line quite yet. There's been a few things where you're watching Cooper Flagg and you're like, well, I'd like him to be a little bit better here, a little bit better there. But overall, I've been very impressed with him still, especially as a decision maker. I think this is a great example. Cooper Flagg draws 3 defenders. He has his own defender riding his hip. He brings a help defender at the rim and also a dig defender off of Kon Knueppel in the strong side corner. And what this generates is an immediate kick out. And this is maybe a shot where I would say I'd be okay with Kon Knueppel shooting it because he's such a good shooter, but he doesn't settle here. Instead, he takes a middle drive against a hard closeout. The defender does a pretty good job trying to stay attached here, and there is a dig from the top of the key. But Kon Knueppel shows a very good combination of functional strength and also the ability to hold his driving lane. And I think does a great job here getting to 2 feet, working with a little bit of a step through, and finishing with the left hand at the rim. Again, this is where you can't undersell his overall talent. He's not going to be the best driver. He's not going to be the best passer, like I said, but he has functional tools in these areas to be a positive, impactful player in the NBA. And I think when you look at him as a passer as well, almost the inverse play here from what we saw a play ago with Cooper Flagg handling the basketball. This time, Kon Knueppel catches, jab steps to his right, rips back through to his left, catches his defender off balance, is able to get to advantage here a little bit, and it forces Cooper Flagg's defender to dig in on him here. Promptly, Kon Knueppel gathers the basketball, makes a easy read to the corner, and leads Cooper Flagg into open space to get this three-point shot off. Now, this doesn't go in the stat sheet as an assist, but when you're actually watching the games and you're using your eye test, this is an impressive play. It's not an elite play. It's not a, oh my gosh, look at this guy as a passer. It's a standard play of what you'd want to see from a wing who is an NBA caliber player. If he gets doubled, if he gets blitzed in the gap, is he capable of making an easy read to get the ball out of his hands and into an open shooter's hands? And I think right now the obvious answer for Kon Knueppel is yes. He is capable of making some of these reads. And then on the defensive end of the floor, he's been active. I think that's the best way to describe him. This play is the one defensive play I picked out for today's video. Now, he does ultimately miss this transition 3, but I think just going back to the start of this play here, this is a baseline out of bounds, and he's defending a rip screen toward the rim. His defensive awareness here is what creates this play. He quickly detaches from his man, switches with Mason Gillis at the free throw line, and is able to stymie this cut opportunity by getting his chest in front, having active hands low. If you guys remember last year, I was extremely optimistic about Reed Sheppard, his defensive activity, his ability to keep his hands in the passing lane and disrupt the basketball. And I think Kon Knueppel has shown some signs of that. Now, he's not quite the same level of activity that Reed Sheppard flashed a year ago, but I do think there is some real positives here with Kon Knueppel being able to defend as a team defender. Is he going to be a lockdown one-on-one defender? No, I don't believe that, but I do think maybe similar to Sam Hauser for the Boston Celtics in a way, where teams are going to go at him, teams are going to attack him, but I don't think he's a slouch. I think he's a solid athlete. I think he's an NBA caliber athlete for sure. I think he's got a quick enough first step defensively to be able to survive defensively in the NBA in isolation. And then I also think just as a team defender, players who are smart, have high IQ, those players tend to work pretty well in the NBA on the defensive end of the floor. Remember, everything stems back to this: the ability to spot up, shoot the basketball, stretch out defenses, make it hard to leave him when your team garners advantage or finds themselves in situations like this. A loose ball just finds his hands promptly. And the relocation skills, again, this is what I really want to harp on. This is what will create looks for him in the NBA. The standstill opportunities help with your team spacing. The relocation on drives and kickouts is what's going to get him a majority of his three-point looks. If it's not dialed up offense, like an off-ball stagger screen, for example, like we've seen him be able to work in the past. So I'm extremely optimistic about Kon Knueppel as a player. From my overall draft range, where I'm projecting him to go right now is a top 10 pick, and I think that is very well warranted. Before the season started, I kind of looked at him as a almost lock to be in the lottery, at the very worst being like fringe lottery, because in the past we have seen shooters be a little undervalued when it comes to guys like Cam Johnson, for example, when it comes to someone like Corey Kispert, when it comes to Dalton Knecht, Jared McCain most recently. Sometimes there are shooters who I would draft very firmly in the lottery or very firmly in the top 10, and they fall just a little bit further past that. This is a very safe type of archetype to draft. This is a very safe type of player to add into a roster. And even though, yes, it's safe, maybe the potential isn't superstar or all-star, there's a lot of real benefits to a team. And I don't think individual accolades do enough to show how impactful a player can be. Think about Norm Powell again for the Clippers this year, how awesome he's been for the Clippers and a huge reason why they've been winning games. You think about the value that Dalton Knecht has brought to the Lakers, the value Jared McCain has brought to the 76ers. Shooting always brings an impact, even going back to J.J. Redick's days. For example, when he was in the league with Orlando early, when he was with the Clippers, when he was with the Sixers around Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Shooting really, really helps team offense, especially in the half court when the game slows down. It gives you more functionality, it gives you more set plays, it gives you a go screener, it gives you so many different things you can use. And I think Kon Knueppel is only starting to scratch the surface on ways that he can be utilized offensively. So I'm extremely excited about him as a prospect. I think he's going to be very, very good in the NBA for a long time. And I think whichever team drafts him on draft night, maybe they're not getting an all-star player, but they're getting a player who's going to help their team win a lot more games because of the role that he's going to fulfill in their team half-court offense. Thanks everyone so much for watching. I really hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.